And it even plugs into the simplicity of what we're talking about as far as opening doors. Because a lot of times, I'm always trying to do that for women in my community, wherever I go. If they carrying bags, all that quote unquote old school stuff, right? And a lot of times I already know that initially they're gonna say no, right? So I tell them like, yo, don't be afraid to ask for this help. And they're literally like, you know what? All right, you can help me, right? Those little pockets, us planting those seeds, that communal intimacy, right, will start to spill into them realizing like, yo, I don't really ask for what I need. I don't really ask for what I want, even with my own relationship. Even to the degree that you may feel a way about something your husband or your boyfriend did or said, but you don't want to cause an argument. You may feel like he's not emotionally adept to have that conversation. So you end up accepting it, knowing you really don't inside. Turns into resentment, spills out into other aspects of the relationship, spills out into the community, and then we can't really have the uncomfortable truths be said to one another, whether it's relational, platonic, business-wise, or just as a community, as a nation. We can't say what we really got to say based on these pockets of us not honoring the beauty of these roles, of masculine and feminine roles. I don't feel like across the board it's supposed to be locked into, but they are supposed to be used in certain instances, and this is how it can turn into balancing of our whole community.
Yeah. TK. Jersey. I've been on the grind, man. All it took was patience. That money on my mind, man. All I see is hating. He jocking on the low, man. You know the kid is wavy. Like how you mad at me when you know you're fucking lazy. Should've changed.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? We back with another special show with another special guest. He's actually not new to the show, but he's somebody that we already know. So I am your co-host, the composer Rel, chilling with my host.
Help is key.
And we have our special guest. He's going to introduce himself as always.
You had some bars just there. I don't know if you noticed that. But, so for y'all that didn't see the first episode, if you've been under a rock, I go by Brick City Buddha, also known as Dr. Diggler. Meditation teacher, community activist, counselor, life coach, father, husband, black man, God.
Fire. So one, before we even get to all the juicy stuff, make sure that you subscribe to the channel. Make sure that you share this video. If there's anything that you feel has touched you, I'm sure it'll touch somebody else. If you feel like you're someone somewhere that needs this information, please send it out as much as possible, y'all. This is for y'all. This is for us to grow as a community. And this is for us to be the best version of ourselves. We want to help y'all help yourselves.
Yes. Don't forget to like as well as comment as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And Health and Hip Hop Show, let's get this thing going, baby.
Yeah.
We back.
Yeah. So last time, y'all don't know, we have another episode that I'm not sure if we could put it out because the file's damaged.
Wasn't meant.
Which is all good. It's all good. That's why we're here again anyway. But in that episode, I asked, as y'all know, we asked our guests, who's your favorite hip hop artist? And in that episode, I asked you, what's your favorite or your top 1 or 2 hip hop songs? So I need to know that again. Okay. Just in case the world may not never know from the other episode.
So those that do know me, they already know Nas, how I feel about Nas. Nas is the greatest to me. But it's like one and one A, like I was telling you before, it's Nas and Pop. Because me functioning in both aspects of myself at this point, lower and higher chakras, I appreciate a lot of different modes of expression. And I always felt like, as far as hip hop is concerned, Nas is the mind and Pac is the heart. So like I was saying last time, Pac don't gotta give you the triple layer bar. He can say something as direct as it could ever be said, but the soul behind it, the spirit, the energy behind it, it'll hit you in a way where Nas can't do it that way, right? But as far as like the technique, the lyrical savvy, the pockets and all of that type of stuff, and the depth of content, Nas is what appeases is to my mind. So with both of them, on any given day, depending on how I feel, it could be Nas or Pac. So Nas and Pac is my 1 and 1A. I can't differentiate between the two.
In the song or bar? No, actually it was bar. I think it was, I asked you, what was one of your favorite bars in hip hop, one or two bars in hip hop?
So I go with Nas, off Nas's Light, Freedom of Jail clips inserted, a baby's being born, same time a man is murdered, the beginning and end. That's the whole universe in half a bar really, like, for him to be able to compact what he said in that line, it take a special pen to be able to do that. So yeah, that's probably one of my favorite bars. There's so many of them, but that's always stuck in the back of my head. Sometimes I just be driving and I just pop out from the stack.
That's deep.
Like, so yeah,
That's deep.
One of them ones, yeah.
That was your answer too. That must really be, that was your answer.
That's how you know. That's how you know.
See, I love that Nas song, Rewind.
Yeah.
He spit everything in reverse.
Facts.
You know, and I'm like, oh man, that's cold.
Absolutely.
That's cold. Nah, it's like. Shout out to DJ Premier.
Facts.
Shout out to DJ Premier. Pivotal producer in the hip hop community.
Absolutely.
Love Premier, especially with the scratches.
I recorded in his studio. The next joint I'm about to release, an EP. I did one of the joints that's on that EP in his studio with his man King of Chill. He wasn't actually there, but I recorded in his studio where everybody done recorded. Big recorded Kick in the Door, Jay-Z recorded in there. So just walking in there, it's like, bruh, see the plaques and all of that. It was special to be able to record in there.
Dang.
Yo.
What I say?
Yo,
this
oh
my
my
boy,
gosh.
What I say?
Oh man, cause you just talking about just being in the essence of their studio and stuff. So we actually went to Quad Studio. Well, it wasn't at Quad, but you know the building that has Quad.
It was like
in
a floor
yeah,
down or up.
something like that.
Shout out to Clico, yo. Shout out to Clico in First Row. They had that NJ frying pan,
Yeah,
which is basically it was just an open session.
Right.
For like mad NJ artists to just
recently,
come.
right?
Yeah, they just wanted all the NJ artists to come and just they was basically playing beats or whatever, and whoever wrote 8 bars, they just recorded. Yeah, but go ahead, I didn't mean to cut you
that
off.
was good.
Yeah, I recorded that Quad too. When I was still working on Heatmaker's project, The Rush, like way back when. That was my first time in like a real big, fancy New York studio. I think at that time, the rumor was it was like $600 an hour. It's probably more than that now at this point, but yeah, we was recording The Rush in there. Yeah.
Yo, that's a lot. We was in the lobby because we left and then we walked down and I looked at the address 723 and I'm like, I remember just like the news clips and like
right,
Diddy and them coming out.
Yeah.
So we actually turned around, went back into the lobby.
Yeah.
It's like, hold on.
Yeah.
She was like, let's take this in right quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, we meditated in the hallway, right in that hallway, yo. We we was like, yo. That's why when you said what you just said, and then but like, yo, I was about to say it, you said it, cause we really was like, nah, we need to intake this, like,
Right.
we need to intake this.
That was beautiful. That was beautiful. She actually took me to my first like big like studio. This was maybe like 2017 where I saw like the large SSL.
What was that at Buddha event? Was that Buddha?
It could have.
Shout out to Buddha, Buddha and Grands. That was at the Still Sessions. Was that Still Sessions?
I don't remember what session it was. I was just like, yo, because at the time I had a vision board where I put up like a studio. I don't even know what studio
we
it
went to
was.
a lot of studios.
I know it had like the MP in it and it had the big board. And I'm just like, yo, I got this on my vision board. And then she was like, yo, you want to go da-da-da-da? I'm like, sure, we out, mobbed over there. And then I'm just looking. I'm like, wait, hold up.
Right.
The studio right here. Oh, nah, this is beautiful. And then it connect. Oh, I put this on the vision board, yo.
Wow.
And then just to be able to see it, I'm just looking at the board and I'm just like, yo, this is what Dre
Vision
and all
board
them.
to the board, like.
To the board.
Bars.
Bro. Come on now. Like, come on now. Frequency.
Word.
Frequency. So that's
Right.
beautiful. That is beautiful.
Dang, yo. Dang. And that's why I like starting off our episodes with hip hop, because one, a lot of episodes is on purpose to teach. But I just feel like for me, and I'm sure for plenty others, like hip hop, I learned so much just listening to hip hop. Like even just, especially Jadakiss, like the Styles P.
Right.
So like I always want to, instead of just coming up here and just dropping like information, I'm like, I want to put it through hip hop because I learned through hip hop.
Right.
And we still learn through hip hop,
No doubt.
regardless of what type of message is going on. Our children are learning and being who they are. And I posted about that, like a lot of our artists or our youth actually has also, when we was growing up, have been killed being what they heard, trying to be what they heard.
Absolutely.
And so I want to use the same, or I should say we want to use the same method to teach our knowledge through hip hop. So that's why we always start our shows off with hip hop before we get into the juicy, good stuff, even though hip hop is good.
And it's super necessary right now with, you know, how the legal system is adjusting to. And it's like,
That's a great point.
I got mixed views, of course, with the Young Thug situation. Like I see the comment sections on all the different clips of him in jail, and I think Kevin Lyles was up there the other day speaking on his behalf, and he was crying on the stand and stuff like that. And I feel like the Young Thugs of the world are kind of taking a rap for what the Kevin Lyles of the world. No disrespect to him or anybody in particular, but the system itself, like we've just stood by and watched it degrade into what it has. The quality of the music, of course, is still fire. It's different from what we grew up on. But the content is so dangerous at this point. It's so weaponized. So for, you know, karma is undefeated.
Absolutely.
Everything is going to come full circle and have to have its day of reckoning. So first it was the murders of the rappers, like we was kind of talking about in the first episode. And now you see it even getting into the legal system when they in there reading these dudes' bars, like breaking down their lyrics and using that to, you know, eventually put them in the bank, probably for a long time for Young Thug if things go the way they saying it's going to go. So for us to be sitting here again at this stage of hip hop, I think it's super important to always start with that.
Nah, absolutely. And also, to be honest, a lot of that's going on from imbalances. What this episode is about is masculine and feminine energy. It's imbalances in our community. So before we even touch on that, you just made me think of something about this stage of hip hop. And also, I think we forget that hip hop is so young.
Facts.
It's not an old genre.
Still probably the youngest genre, at least in
Absolutely.
the country. Like, yeah, absolutely.
And if you think about it, we didn't even really have a long time, and we still own it because we always gonna own that culture part because it's just part of us. I mean, regardless, everybody's still making music at the end of the day. You know what I mean? So we still own it now, regardless of how we see the perception of if an income off of it or a main fan base is your actual route of winning, then that could be an issue with that. You know what I mean?
I know we about to transition.
Yeah. Nah,
I feel like we still workers. Like even the Jay-Z's of the world, the Khaled's and all of these people, if they wanted to like really put out an artist like the famous bar from Jay-Z, I wanted to rap like Common Sense. I mean, 5 mil, I ain't been rapping like Common Sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
So is that really ownership when you can't really do what you want to do on the
absolutely.
mic? And even if you got all the influence and power and money in the world of hip hop, you still can't put the type of consciousness that you would probably like or know that needs to balance out how hip hop is going. Even from Rip, I went to some Legends show, award show, like maybe 4 or 5 years ago. Curtis Blow, a bunch of different legends was there, and I remember them telling the stories of how even early on, like even with Curtis Blow, there was all these different rappers in the community that you had to have consciousness in your lyrics to be considered one of them dudes. Curtis Blow just happened to know how to put the rhyme schemes together, but it wasn't really no consciousness coming from Curtis Blow. And the label was like, no, we want him.
Yeah.
Let's make basketball. Let's, you know what I'm saying? Let's make the fun, frivolous stuff, which is still needed in hip hop. But from Rip, it was kind of snatched away from us. So I don't feel like we've ever really completely owned hip hop.
And that's exactly what I mean. I think in the sense of it's more of how you actually vision it, meaning depending on what your goal is with it, right? Versus it actually letting it form into you. And the best way I could put it is like patience, right? Yeah. Patience. Like a perfect example is like the Locks to me right now, right?
Right.
Like they've been solid. And I said this the last episode, but like they've made money off of actually like being themselves. And even with changing into health, they still have respect. And a lot of rappers that change over into, I want to be a chef, or they don't even get the same, so if you actually been a gangster rapper and you turn into like, all of them are healthy, you looked at as corny, or like the old dudes, that's what's going on with all of them, but they don't have that, still are seen as respected. So I think like, I agree with you and I agree with you totally, but then it really just boils down to the patience of it, because at the end of the day, what's real is real at the end of the day, and what's fake is fake.
And the template does exist, even with my stance. It's still pairs with yours because the template does exist for you to establish ownership in hip hop.
Absolutely.
As a whole, we may not own
Absolutely,
it to be
absolutely.
but like you just said,
Absolutely.
those transitions with people like the lot because they do what they want.
No,
Whatever
absolutely.
they want, so that's ownership.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's why I think the imbalances, because when you saying when it comes to the Curtis Blow, right, and we want him, right, but it really comes down to when somebody feeds you something, what energy you going to use.
Right.
Like, am I going to go for the patience level? Am I going to go for the options, which to me is more feminine? Like, even when I train women, when I train men, it's like, yo, eat like this, and they can eat the same thing. But with us, women be calling me, King, I'm bored. I need options, right? So when it boils down to, yo, options, like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Options or feminine energy and masculine energy. I know he about to dangle me, right? Am I going to go for it or am I not? And you know what I'm saying? And if we stick to that, and understanding both, you know what I mean? And understanding that those imbalances and feeding now or should I feed later, you know, I think that boils down to us actually being able to own it more because we're not falling for the dangling, you know what I mean? Or the I need it now, or you know what I mean? Or especially depending on why you actually rap, because a lot of the times when it turns to something that you love for money, it's a whole different type of ball game.
Absolutely.
And without them, with those imbalances in our communities.
Well, like that's probably a great segue into the masculine.
Exactly. Yeah, definitely. Let's get it.
Yeah, my wife's first time discovering me on social media. It was a conversation I was happening based on me processing the pain of leaving my previous relationship with my son's mother. And at that point, this was like the most viewed live I had ever did. And I was breaking down, I think the title of it is Women Aren't Built for Monogamy. So of course,
I remember that video.
I'm the title king. I
Of
can,
course.
like, magnetize people to
Of course.
even though I'm
And it'd
not
be a whole
really
flip.
Just saying that.
Right.
And it'd be a whole flip to it.
So a lot of people start tuning in, and it was just a stream of consciousness. I was to that point where the painful aspect of it was still prevalent, but the initial intensity of that wave of pain started to dip off. And when that happens, that's when the downloads usually get dropped off, if you can ride that wave. So I was at that point where all this stuff was making sense about feminine energy and like where I was not necessarily feeling that, but not understanding the flow of feminine energy. And in that live, I was pretty much talking about, it doesn't mean that women can't be faithful, of course. 9 times out of 10, usually y'all way more faithful than a man is. But what I was saying is, working with so many men over the years, and a lot of us having the same story no matter what we do, and not seeming like enough to that woman at a certain point, I started to realize that feminine energy is all about consumption. Not just women themselves, but feminine energy, which men of course have to.
Absolutely.
Themselves, the natural state of it is consumption. It needs. I remember the movie Short Circuit, Johnny Five, the machine in that movie. It was like a AI type of consciousness. And when he came online, he was just going through everybody's crib, like reading books in 2 seconds. He just wanted input.
Right.
So that's kind of how feminine energy works. And even with the options of food, it's not just a principle of what am I going to have to satiate my body today. It needs to be a particular type of experience. It needs to kind of balance out what I've experienced the past few days. It needs to appease my emotions.
Facts.
And even if I get that, and even if feminine energy gets that, and it's the best experience ever, within 2 days it needs something different, right? With the men that a lot of women deal with, he could be across the board 10 out of 10 on a lot of different levels, but at a certain point it turns into boredom because he may not be in touch with those other parts of himself that can put him in a space where it's like a role play type of thing, right? Not just with sexually, but if you have access to all these different parts of your personality, it's always a new individual popping up every day. This is why me and my wife have so much fun, because she never know which docs she gonna get, because I function in so many different aspects of myself. So there's not an exhausting of the need of the feminine energy for new, for different. A lot of times men don't understand that. They're like, yo, I'm paying the bills, I'm doing this, I'm good in the bedroom, all this other stuff. That should be enough. It's never gonna be enough, because feminine energy has to continue to consume different. There's nothing wrong with that. When we understand that that's what it is, then we can kind of work with that better as men, and women won't feel bad for wanting more. Because sometimes y'all feel like, am I wanting too much? Am I asking for too much? But that's what the feminine energy is supposed to do. Yeah.
So is it like, for people to be able to grasp it, is it something or like a definition that you can put into words as far as what is feminine energy and what is the masculine energy?
So going back to Indian cosmology, like their system of gods, the two main gods is Shiva and Shakti, right? And I tell people all the time, like even in the Hindu faith, even some of them that I've worked with as clients that come from India, meditated 13 hours a day, they worship some of these quote unquote deities, but these deities are actually like just depictions of the one God and all its different personalities, right? So Shiva is the aspect of masculine energy that is just pure nothingness, the potential for everything to exist. Shakti is the feminine principle of that. So with that being said, like the masculine energy, this is why a lot of times men are looked to for stability, right? To be the providers, to be the protectors, because we can anchor into that normalcy. Like you just talked about, we can eat the same thing for a week and not feel no way about it. So with that level of energy, you can plant something on it. That's solid ground. Right? As opposed to the feminine energy, it needs to have the ability to explore, right? Unbridled curiosity. It needs to be able to go in every way, shape, or form. When you got both of those, you got both aspects of the human experience being had access to, right? If you got one or the other more so, there's still gonna be some level of your life that feels like it's not complete. Not just with a relationship, but just as you, as an individual, it's always gonna feel like it's something missing. And a lot of times we try to plug the relationship into that, and we do that with another person that either got one or the other unbalanced. So a lot of times people don't realize that that masculine energy is the foundation, it's the soil. The feminine energy is the plant that grows off of that, whether it becomes the tree, the flower, whatever it becomes. When you got both of those, you can create anything on your own, and you attract another person who can do the same.
So I'm a visual learner. So while you're speaking this stuff, I see like images. So when you talk about, you know, the masculine energy, just constantly just want to, you know, be a little bit repetitive with stuff. When you think about movies and you see like the female to come over to the man crib and whatnot, they open up the refrigerator and then what's just there? Some beer, some water, maybe, you know, some bread or something is little in the refrigerator, and the female just be looking like, yo, what you eat, yo? You know, but then you go to the female house and whatnot and they refrigerator, they joint all nice, it's all decorative, it's all these different sources of food, so it just like give a little visual, you know, just seeing the difference between them both and why both of them is important, because we need that variety, you know, when you operating in your masculine energy, like you need both of them, you know, like we have 46 chromosomes, you know, we not just living off of 23, we need both of them, you know, so that's very important.
And even that visual like translates into once I balanced out the energies and I had more access to the variety and the need for variety. Like my refrigerator looks like what you described as the women now, right? But I remember being a bachelor before any of this. Old boxes of Chicken Shack in there, pizza, and it's the same thing all the time because I was so much in that mode of goal and survival and provision and all this other stuff. The ways of loving yourself via food, via diet, and all that stuff that turned into the eventual healing of my kidney and my vision and all of that stuff. There was a time where it was that formulaic approach to what I ate, and that put me in a space where there was no room to even be curious about them. I've been eating the same thing for the past 2 months. Like it's the same cycle. Monday is the pizza, Tuesday is the burger. I didn't even have space to see outside of that because it was the tunnel vision of what I got to do today, how much money I need to make, what I got to do for the block, right? That didn't even let me explore outside of that. And that's the thing with a lot of brothers who end up out of balance. They wake up 30, 40 years into a relationship and they done everything right according to what society says a man is supposed to do. And they may not even tell their lady, they may not even admit it to themselves or anybody else, but they're not happy. They're not fulfilled. They just think, well, I'm the man. That's what it's supposed to be, right? At least I'm doing my job. But the job of the human experience is to enjoy this thing, right? And you can't do that if you can't even admit to yourself, I want to be able to explore other things outside of what I've had for this past 10 years or 2 days or whatever it may have been. So I was that dude with that same formula in my refrigerator, and now it would look like the rainforest in there. And that translated to my health,
It's potent because when I was still at Rutgers, like, you know, just constantly at work or, you know, take care of LeBron, what have you. I'm just constantly just focused on with the everyday. I just want to survive, you know. And then it was like in my subconscious looking back, I was bored because it's like, yo, I'm eating the same food all the time. So then, you know, it'd be moments where Kia cook something and it's just like, yo, yo, this food is amazing, yo, because it's so much love in it. Like,
Right.
the food is so warm, you
Right.
know? And then, you know, got with wifey, and then
Right.
now I'm getting that on an everyday basis.
doubt.
And the food is so colorful. It's
Right.
so many different varieties,
Right.
like how you talking about. And then you have a moment where it's like, okay, you know, she ain't cooking. And it's like,
It's
yo,
on you today.
now, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, yo, like, oh, I remember what this was, but now I know, because I got a taste of the variety, and it's like, now I went back, and it's like, oh, this cold. You know, this feel cold.
You know what's crazy about that too? Like when we say they put their foot in it, or we can taste the love in the food. You know what it really is?
What's that?
All them times that they have explored and not settled for eating the same thing, they downloaded different pieces of information, right?
Yeah.
So all of that is going into the style of cooking that Tori does. And even what I do now, it's been moments, and I noticed it like in the past probably year and a half, and we was talking about abundance before we came in. It'd be moments where, or it would have been moments where my system was like, I want something different today, right? And you start to go explore, you're looking on Google, and all the different stuff is out of a 30-mile radius. So then what happens with the stack? And we ain't got money to spend on gas. You know what I mean? Like, I'm about to spend $40, $50 on this trip just to get something to eat. I'm not gonna do that.
Right, right.
But all those moments where you deny yourself that, you deny yourself self-love. You deny yourself the data of going to have that experience, which may turn into you investigating how to cook something which may save you money in the long run. Because now you ain't got to go back to that restaurant. But we kind of stop ourselves in the moment of demand because it's so binary. I'm not going to drive 30 miles. I just need to feed myself. Now I'm going 30 miles. If I need to go to South Jersey to explore a new flavor, a new experience, I'm going to do that. And all that has led to me having more pockets to be able to flex in that I can now bring into my relationship. My wife didn't know how to cook when I got with her. I used to always tell her, now you don't cook yet. Stop saying you don't know how to cook. And she's been able to download the information I have in those moments of, damn, am I really gonna drive 30 miles for food?
Right, right.
That's where the feminine, masculine energy meet in places where we kind of overlook.
Dang, you know what? That just made me think of something, especially dealing with the feminine, with feminine energy, right? When I saw Candace post about that, right?
About cooking?
About cooking, right? Thank you for that correction. About cooking, right? And not knowing how to cook, and her expressing, I don't want to, this is just from what I remember, it's not verbatim, but it was, from what I got from it, it was like, you know, women feel some type of way if they didn't know how to cook, right? And so you think that like cooking is titled, it's attached to feminine energy when it really don't. Cooking is just cooking.
Right.
It really is not even attached. It don't have nothing to do. It don't have nothing to do, you know, with it. And for
Everybody
me,
eat, bro. Like,
you know what I'm saying? It don't have anything to do with it. In the sense of if when you really look at feminine energy is receiving, right? So it made me realize, like, dang, you know, like I did the same thing. Like it was a time where I stopped focusing on so many things because I was like, you know what, I gotta know how to cook, clean. And so when I was like 21 or something like that at that point. So, but it was in the sense of it being like not human, but more so I'm a woman. Like I'm supposed to like, and I didn't feel like a woman if I didn't have those qualities. And I didn't realize it until she actually said that. I'm like, dang, like that's don't have nothing to do with me being a woman. And I'm mad that I act, not mad, let me not say mad, but wow, like that's crazy that I would actually like feel like these are set qualities because somebody else particularly projected that on me. But in a sense, really don't have nothing to do with being a woman. If you just don't cook yet, you don't cook yet. Right. That's just not the time you put in because you was doing something else.
Right. And based on that ideology, I shouldn't have showed up and stayed. Right. I would have showed up, oh, you can't cook, I'm out. Like, right? And I show, it's funny because we talk about it all the time.
I showed up and stayed, that's deep.
Right. She was being prepared for me in a very unique, particular, down to the detail way and vice versa. So her spirit, and being that she's been so in touch with her spirit and balancing out her energies, her spirit knew she was going to manifest a dude that cooked. So regardless of what society say about it, she continued to honor herself, and she got to the point where I showed up. And not only do I enjoy cooking, I don't consider it a choice part of my creativity. I'm willing to show you, right? I'm willing to plant those seeds in you, so now you to the point where you could explore that side of yourself. And then the same thing on my end, like we talked about, maybe that was the last episode that didn't get saved, but I say it again here. I'm about to move down to Houston. I've done well for myself coming from somebody who had to struggle from getting out the streets to working jobs, going to school, getting fired from different industries. I put in a lot of work to be financially stable. It wasn't for a long time. All the work
We know about that.
That
We
was
know
it.
about that.
That was a
We know
huge
about
part
that.
of my depression. That was a huge part of my self-doubt. Like a lot of brothers I work with, a lot of men out here, especially black men. So once I finally got to the point where I started to let God take the wheel, my abundance started to climb. I've been good for the past 5 years. I'm not quote unquote monetarily rich, but I'm wealthy in the fact that whatever resource I need, I know it's going to gravitate to me. So I don't need to have the $1 million in my pocket to do $1 million things. I've been good on my end. She has more money than me, right? Her life path has been completely different. So with me about to move to Houston, she paid the majority of the money for our home.
To be built, right? Yeah, I
My
get it.
spirit knew,
That's fine.
even though all these different women or all these question of the days I used to post, and you know, if you doing 50-50, you a roommate, you're not, seeing all this stuff and feeling a way about it for so long, my spirit still knew at the end of the day, you're gonna magnetize to a woman where you don't gotta worry about paying all the bills, and she not gonna be worried about that. So that quote unquote deficiency that society told me about, my spirit knew it was up, and all of us got our own unique paths. So when you're not balanced with the feminine energy and the masculine energy, you're relegated to other people's templates because you're missing half of your puzzle.
Which
Understand?
boils down to what we just talked about in the beginning,
Right.
even when it comes to the hip hop aspect of why it's actually controlled because of us being imbalanced.
Exactly.
Like,
It's messing us up, but like how we was talking about, is a scripture that says that God uses the foolish things of the world to confound the wise.
Exactly.
So if
wait, say that one more time. Say that one more time.
God uses the foolish things of the world
Wow.
to confound the wise. So when you a man and a woman, you coming together, the two shall be one.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's not that it's her or it's you.
Right.
Y'all operating as one unit.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So it's what y'all have. Hers become yours.
Right.
Yours become
Exactly.
hers. So when we in balance, we are not able to see things like that because everything is just separation.
Right.
You know, it's like peace sign.
Right.
And it's like, nah, it ain't peace because
Right.
this is peace.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So you got everything that you need
Right.
because she's right there and she got everything you need because you right there.
And with separation, of course, comes lack, and that's why we in a generation where it's so much feminine energy say, no, you got to bring everything to the table. Now, masculine energy is saying that too. The men have kind of been brainwashed under that precept that we just got to bring everything to the table materially. A lot of times, women are walking past dudes who are their soulmate, who may not have everything mapped out just yet, but her particular soul asked for that package. But based on what society is saying, like, nah, he's not valuable enough. I need somebody who already got this laid out. And you may end up in a relationship where you're taken care of for that 40, 50 years for the rest of your life. But you don't reach that level of fulfillment that you would have with that dude. I saw some video that just went viral like 2 weeks ago. This woman, black woman, like light-skinned woman, was talking about the love of her life actually passed. And she had left him before he died because she wanted somebody with more money. Y'all saw this?
I think I saw it.
Just
I
went
think
viral.
so. I think so.
And the lady was kind of grilling her that was doing the interview. She was like, oh, so you broke his, like, damn, like, relax.
Sheesh.
But she was talking about the fact that she, to a certain degree, like, regrets walking away from that level of love. And she walked away from that level of love at that point because feminine energy, a lot of times, is what the man needs to blossom in a way where now he can have the material stuff come towards him. My relationship with my son's mother opened me up to more abundance. My relationship with my wife now opened me up to my relationship with Tori. All the women in my community
Absolutely.
opened me up to different pockets that I wouldn't have if my feminine and masculine energy wasn't balanced to attract women in different ways into my life, even in a sisterly role. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
That stuff helped out a lot because even before, you know, I knew that God was preparing me, you know, to be a husband.
Right.
You know, so when me and Tori would go
Right.
out to eat, what she'd do? She steps to the side, so
Right.
I open the door.
Training, yep.
You know what I'm saying? When we get to the car door, she step in the side.
Right.
And me open up that door. You know.
Was
what
you
I'm
even
saying?
conscious of doing this at these times?
Yeah, like I
Okay.
was like
Okay.
so. I remember even when I used to when my boyfriend, shout out to Jazz. I remember he used to joke at it all the time because he did that for me, but he wasn't doing it at the time.
Okay.
Yeah, at the
I'm about
time.
to say, like, we gotta talk.
Nah.
You know the brothers gonna wanna know, like, damn.
Nah. At the time, we was together like 7 years. That's my boy. That was my boy. But I'm trying to remember. I don't remember how old we were, but we dated for a long time. But I remember like I was going through that phase of like, you know, wanting to, like, actually what's crazy is he actually got the most feminine energy, like balanced energy out of me. I didn't become unbalanced until I started over hustling,
Gotcha.
right? But at that time I was just working and living and enjoying life and exercising. But once I tried to make something that I love into an income and forcing it,
Right.
and taking that I'm not making enough, I'm not enough, that's when chin hairs came, and that's when hormone imbalances came, and all these different things. So I say that to say with the whole open the door thing, it was funny because when I didn't touch doors after that. So at that point, but it would be funny where like, cause with my tomboy ways or whatever, I think I'm also balanced too because I've hung with men all my life, like growing up. So like just going to the store with just like, let's say me and his 2 friends go to the store and I don't open the door.
Right.
Like I stand. So they'd be like, yo, I hate going with your girl. She made me open all the doors, like joking, like, yo, Tori made me open all the doors.
Right.
Like, so they'd be complaining like when we got back. Not to me in my face, but he'd tell me like, we'll be joking later. So it's funny, like.
It's necessary though because with us being able to bring the balance within our community, you know, we need it. So instead of everything just being super over masculine, you know, energy that's influencing our communities, we able to bring some different narratives into play because it's necessary. So just the fact that you got brothers that's like, you know, not saying it to her face, but it's like getting a little agitated because it's like, yo, dang, every time I go her, I gotta keep opening the doors. But even with wifey now, like I've been around her so much and I've opened the door so much. It's like even when she get in the car, I grab the seatbelt for her. You know what I'm saying? Here you go. You know, so if
I'm gonna put your seatbelt on next time I'm with you, I got you.
If she even go like this, cause you know she still gotta get in the mindset to her, I'll go like this.
Yeah.
I'll go like that. You know what I'm saying? Just so she can be reminded. So when she around, you know, like if she around other male friends, cause I need you.
I'm joking.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
you don't get joined. Like,
pops make me. I want to get popped. You know what I mean? Especially the sweet pop, they ain't even a real one. I want to get tapped. That's funny. That's dope though.
So it's like, yo,
that's fire.
If she around like other male friends, she'll literally forget that, yo, I'm not with Ralph.
Yeah,
she'll stay in the car.
Wow.
And then they get out and then they,
what you doing? Like,
why you still in the car? Like,
that's a fact.
It's just a joke, but it's funny.
That's a fact.
It's funny,
that's a fact.
That like brings me full circle too. I was working with a client the other day. Couple session. So the way my couple sessions work, we do packages of 3 sessions, 1 individual session for each partner, and then we'll bring all the information we gather from those sessions into the final joint session. So I was doing my individual with the dude, and he came up with a dope phrase, and I told him like I'm gonna shout you out. I'm not gonna say his name, but he gonna know because I don't want you to get in trouble with your lady. But he came up with this term. She practices artificial acceptance. Right?
That's deep.
Super deep. And it even plugs into the simplicity of what we're talking about as far as opening doors. Because a lot of times, I'm always trying to do that for women in my community, wherever I go. If they carrying bags, all that quote unquote old school stuff, right? And a lot of times I already know that initially they're gonna say no, right? So I tell them like, yo, don't be afraid to ask for this help. And they'll literally be like, you know what? You can help me, right? Those little pockets, us planting those seeds, that communal intimacy, right, will start to spill into them realizing like, yo, I don't really ask for what I need. I don't really ask for what I want, even with my own relationship. Even to the degree that you may feel a way about something your husband or your boyfriend did or said, but you don't want to cause an argument. You may feel like he's not emotionally adept to have that conversation. So you end up accepting it knowing you really don't inside. Turns into resentment, spills out into other aspects of the relationship, spills out into the community, and then we can't really have the uncomfortable truths be said to one another, whether it's relational, platonic, business-wise, or just as a community, as a nation. We can't say what we really got to say based on these pockets of us not honoring the beauty of these roles, of masculine and feminine roles. I don't feel like across the board it's supposed to be locked into, but they are supposed to be used in certain instances, and this is how it can turn into balancing of our whole community, just in these little pockets. Yeah.
Dang.
It's important.
And that was one of the things I wanted to talk about, right? Because I feel like the height of, like, even if you just type in masculine energy, right? Especially with rest in peace, Kevin Samuels, right? But masculine energy, right? And then you look up videos, or you look up feminine energy, and it's like women are feminine, men are masculine. But I'm never hearing balance. I'm like, why is only when men are talking about, it's just masculine, and then when it's women, it's like, you're a woman, you're feminine, and it's like, no, I'm both.
Right.
Like, I'm both. So, like, can you go in on specifically, like, when it comes to, like, the balance, and how can we balance that? Like, how should men be balancing it, or what's ways that men can balance these energies, and what's ways that women can balance it? Because we have both people. It's not just men and masculine energy and women and feminine energy. We have both. And I want that to be something that we need to understand.
Absolutely. I think that's why so many people had mixed views on Kevin Samuels. When you stand in the middle, you see both sides. Pretty much with everything. So I'm one of those people, when I heard about him late. I'm Genis. Him and Sincere was in there watching it one day, and they were super focused. I'm like, yo, what is that? He told me about Kevin Samuels. He's like, check him out when you get a second. I did. And I'm not somebody who just saw, like, 30-second clips, like
absolutely.
On either side. I went in, I watched a few different episodes, and I was able to see the validity in a lot of what he said. I was able to also see the BS in a lot of what
I agree
he said.
too. I think that was diet too.
I was also able to see
the diet,
the delivery, and how ineffective it is to a lot of
yes,
women,
absolutely,
but also effective for a different type of
absolutely.
Women. So
I agree. I agree
100%
with you.
Different sides, and I think I know he was necessary for this generation.
Absolutely.
Y'all know how I perceive how God functions in this grid. Things like slavery and the Holocaust and all these terrible things that people say, why would a just God do that? That's because you're looking at it from the human level. When you see things from the God scope, you see a level of chess that you can't see from just these two eyes, from that personal experience. So everything makes sense to me. Everything is perfection to me. And
that's deep.
with that question, people were so polarized because they don't have the balance. You can't see it from both perspectives. So I think a lot of times with women, with the feminine energy, the ability to be able to live in the binariness of masculine energy. And of course, meditation is key, because you give yourself space and distance from whatever program you're already running on to be able to investigate doing something new. Same thing for the men. Everybody talks about meditation. Everybody will post a little 2 minutes they do a week. You know what I mean? Getting a nice little pose, had a camera set up, but we don't approach it like we do food. I don't see how people is like really even making it through their days without at least a minute. If all you got is a minute, lock in, and not for the sake of being pieced out or blissful or to create more abundance or to manifest, just to give yourself that minute, that 5 minutes, that hour space from that masculine energy that you're relegated to, from that feminine energy that you're relegated to. So meditation is always going to be the first and foremost. The other aspects of it, I'll give a freebie to the men. I don't think we talked about this.
And this is for how to balance
We actually
masculine
did
and
talk
feminine.
about intuitive walking on the first one.
Yeah.
I'll reiterate that for the men. Start to do intuitive walking. Y'all could reference.
Actually, you know what? Yeah, we could throw that thing in there.
Y'all could
throw that thing in there.
And for the women, I would say find some level of your life where you make a calculated decision and be able to practice that muscle, right? Whatever it got to do with, whether it's what you're gonna eat for that day, when you go to the mall, walking past every single store to go get that thing that you knew you had to go to the mall to get, use those opportunities as a way to strengthen the muscle of the binariness of masculine energy. If we do what's on the opposite end of the spectrum and strengthen those muscles, that'll start to establish the balance. Because I could say meditation till I'm blue in the face. Everybody's spirit is not developed enough to like really go to that. So you got to use what people are already accessing. So on the women's side, find a calculable way to practice binariness. On the men's side, start to float in that gray area, and that intuitive walking is big to be able to start to listen to your intuition, to be able to hear your spirit. My wife was having a conversation with a woman actually the other day, and she was just saying, you know, how she has depended on other people to direct her like oracles and things of this nature, all this other stuff. And she was like, well, what about your own spirit? What about your intuition? She was like, I haven't heard that maybe a day in my life.
Wow.
I've never heard the God within my, I don't know how to do that. So, yeah, I think those will work on either end of the spectrum.
So the female that has never depended on her own intuition, what are some, practical things that she's able to do to start to develop and hearing from her own intuition within?
Movement. I think movement of the body is important to be able to tap into intuition.
So when you say movement in the sense of like
any type
dancing,
of movement of the body, and things, because everybody wants to have the beach bodies, and it takes a lot of work to do that. I'm talking about more so. I don't even want to use the word soft, but for lack of a better term, because it's still powerful. Soft movements.
Isn't it called like
low
sensational, sensational, sensual music?
Movement.
Sensual movement.
Low impact movement. Still go to the gym, do what you got to do, do your butt and gut with Tori and all that. But then keep going. Tai Chi. This is why we see the Asian people, 80, 90, 100 years old, doing a very low impact, subtle movements and all that type of stuff. That still opens up your meridians. And when those meridians open up, meridian is a fancy name for energy highways. So when you get the backaches, when you get the neck aches, the migraines and all of that stuff, it's traffic jams happening in what's supposed to be open flowing conduits of energy. Based on arguments you've had, grudges you holding on to, imbalances in your diet, all these things turn into some particular traffic jam, which eventually turns into a state of dis-ease, which becomes the disease, whatever it's going to be for that person. So these types of movements open up those meridians, and you'll start to get downloads on what you need to be doing for yourself as far as balancing out your energy. It can't just come from another entity. You got to be able to listen to that voice within yourself. So I think movements, I got something I call the 5-second rule that also helps us to tap into our intuition. A lot of times, and I just had this experience the other day, I posted about it on my page. I don't plan fasts, and I fast, I ain't gonna say frequent, but a few times a year I'm doing some type of fast, whether it's dry, fruit, I did raw food for a year. I don't plan it though. And I'm in the grocery store the other day going to get food to cook, solid food, right? And just out the corner of my eye, I see a yellow on sale sign for grapefruit juice. I'm usually going over there to the juice section to get different type of green juices, but they had like a whole day's worth of organic grapefruit juice that was on sale. The yellow sign, just the yellow of the sign caught me, pulled me over to it, right?
It was in Whole Foods.
Yeah,
that's the yellow signs being
right?
Whole Foods.
And I love grapefruits, but I never like just did grapefruit juice. So all in that moment, the download comes, you're supposed to fast today. I didn't even really want to fast that day. I was supposed to be on a liquid fast, and now I have an on-sale opportunity to be able to do this. Still try to debate with myself because I already had plans of what I wanted to cook. I'm like, you know what? Let me just go with it. And I did that, and I didn't realize the day after the fast, and I did everything. The juice fast, no phone, told my wife I can't talk to you today. Everything shut down. Didn't listen to anything. I realized the next day it was a new moon. It was the day prior to when I was supposed to put my bid in with my leasing company that I'm gonna be leaving, right? So all these different transitional things that happened the day before I did the fast, and had no conscious concept of why I needed to fast that day to open up my system energetically, right? That turned into me doing it for a few days. I'm still kind of in the confines of that fast a little bit, but that download came within 5 seconds.
Wow.
Now I had to sit with it for a moment to allow it to develop into what I needed to execute. But if you start to pay attention to those downloads, and if you just go with it within 5 seconds, you start to realize how much of your navigational system is communicating to you all the time. But again, when you don't have the space to recognize there was something special about yellow sign to draw you over to it, then you miss a lot of these downloads that's happening all day. So the 5 second rule too is a big one. Yeah.
Dang, that's deep. For me, I feel like, well, not even for me.
Y'all can cash out me, by the way.
With hip hop, right? I've noticed, because I've been around hip hop artists my entire life. Definitely, it started around 6.
And are a hip hop artist.
Yeah, yep, that too. And I've been around, obviously, majority at the time frame. Now it's way more women. But before it was way more men, right? And that was more normal to me anyway, because like I said, I grew up around boys playing basketball, like since like the only girl in my block from every apartment or house I lived in, I've always been the only girl all the time. So what I've noticed, right, which was giving me a balance, right? Because I'm not into women like at all. So I still have completely my feminine qualities because I still had girls that I hung with, but I hung with boys.
Right.
But because when I was bigger and I dressed like a boy sometimes, played basketball, a lot of times I got the natural side of men because it wasn't like men thinking about me in that way at all. Now it's completely different, which I hate now. Because I got the real because I was bigger. I was like really rugged with it. Unless it was my boyfriend, you didn't get that part. But that's like one of my main qualities. When I'm not into somebody, you're gonna get the full blown rugged part of me, right? And so I say that to say, just being around different hip hop artists, right, and me being into my ways as a woman, as me, dressing more feminine and me getting in, or let me not say feminine, but dressing in more of sexier clothes or just things that I feel now that I'm in shape that fit my body and things that I really, really want to wear, right? When I come around men now, it's because I had the studies of naturally how men are, right? I can see that a lot of men, especially in the hip hop industry, right, which a lot of women are lusting over, right? Some of y'all favorite rappers are too masculine in a sense, right? So I will always be around hiking, like, men being like, how y'all say like, funny things, hiking all the time, joking all the time. So that's normal to me. I hike just like men hike all day, you know what I mean? But what I'm noticing is, right, when it comes to just, and one of these, when I was, I think you told Choose this, right? And he told me that he shared this with me, that he was too masculine, right? And it was from like overhanging with men in a survival mode,
right.
As well as in hip hop, right? We know that a lot of the music is dangerous. So putting that persona of you having to be hard all the time and you having to be the man with all the money and you have to be the man in this big glorifying way to look like you're always on, it is creating some of the most imbalanced men. And so when I'm coming around them, right, a lot of the decision-making skills are completely off. And I can see it because I'm like, dang, because I really know men on a whole nother level, right. You know what I mean? So I'm saying that to say, like, what are some of the signs that a man can be, because all these videos with masculine energy, you can be, from what I learned from what Choose was telling me when you told him that, I didn't even think you could be overly masculine, right? So what are some of the signs of like our men or just men in general of over masculinity, because we're not trusting each other, we're killing each other, or men are killing each other, and to me it's all just imbalances and one person not being able to just be like, let him rock, let me rest in my feminine energy right now, and instead of saying something back right now because I gotta be the most powerful because I've been so much in this energy, I don't even know when to just chill. And some of the things that a lot of us are getting, of our men are getting into issues with, even when it comes to like issues in hip hop, I'll be like, bro, that's imbalance. It's like, you really, even if you look at the Nas and the Jay-Z beef of where that started from,
right.
You know what I mean? So can you touch on
absolutely.
just the signs of imbalances of being too masculine for men?
Yeah, the main three that pop up to me. First one, depression. That and whether he admits it or not, you'll be able to see it in how he treats himself. The substances he may abuse, but depression is always going to be at the top of the list.
That's
because
deep.
With that, imposter syndrome is a big, catchphrase right now. Everybody talking about imposter syndrome, and the more people transition out of corporate America and we do for ourselves, become independent, we got to kind of confront that aspect of ourselves that makes us feel like you're not really built for this, right? Or you're doing something outside of who you really are. So the main imposter syndrome is us being relegated, one, to just a human experience when we are actually divine energy. Beyond these confines or where the skin stops, this whole room is in our field of energy and awareness like we always talk about. So all of this is us right now. Y'all are me at this very moment in time. When you are relegated to just the small humanness, that's the first level of imposter syndrome. Because your spirit knows you're more than that, but your mind is creating this prism that I know I stop where the skin stops, I live in New Jersey, I do this, that, and the third, and then this whole reality is based upon that. That's one of the first things that starts to create self-doubt, that level of imposter syndrome. That second level, though, is when you have one of those levels of feminine or masculine energy not intact, and you got to live from one side of yourself, right? That creates a depression because there's always this longing for the yin to reconnect with the yang. And you try to replace that with person, place, or thing, which is never going to work because everybody's on the timeline of coming and going. And you just end up in this pocket like, yo, don't nobody really care, right? God must not like me because I can't get to this level of fulfillment that I really want. And even with these rappers with all the money in the world, they end up running through the same chicks, right? End up on
some of them be the
TMZ
most sickest and no
one.
discipline.
Exactly.
I'm not never gonna say any names, but I be around rappers all the time, and I just be like, dang, on the source of like you having bars, right? But you not really the man because you can't even control your dick.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And you can't manifest, like, a lot of times you really just ill because you was hurt. So you went to the pen and pad and got nice because of feeling messed up growing up as a kid, right? And so when it comes to that, a lot of the top-notch, to me, top-notch corporation business owners, top-notch rappers, the people that's always in the spotlight, without that balance, a lot of us are sick mentally because of the forcefulness of having to survive in an unhealthy world, which really is more so just only leaning in on masculine. Because even when, like I said, when the imbalances came for me, when I started to push for my business, I was just like this nice girl. Like, even when it comes to like arguing, like, I don't argue with men.
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't argue at all with men. So when it came to like having to like be a backbone and, you know, people like using me, and I was like, well, dang, I don't wanna like, and people would try to train me to be a whole nother way, and I'm like, no, like, I don't wanna be that type of way just for business purposes. I don't wanna lose that part of me. And so I'm seeing that people are forcing way more of an energy just to survive out here, and they're not turning, which is cool if you gotta use it. You just gotta make sure you know you are doing it so you can reach back and be like, let me take a break from that part and step back so I can just recoup. And I remember one of the main things when I was feeling like this, when I was going through eviction, right? When I was going through my skin tearing up and all these different things, it was because I was so masculine, because I had to, like, ain't nobody gonna play me, ain't nobody gonna use me for my money, ain't nobody gonna, I gotta get this money, I gotta get this money, I gotta do this, I gotta push. And all it did was make me sick. All it did was make me sick, but it made me sick because I knew that was not me. I knew myself before I started pushing, and I loved myself, and I was happy where I was before. So once I started seeing that, I called you like, yo, I don't understand why I feel like this. And one of the main things you told me was, you're out of balance. Like you've been giving and you haven't been receiving. And it was like I was giving out to everything, like everybody. 2, giving to my clients, 2, giving to the person I was dating at the time, trying to be the person that, oh, let me cook you a meal when you hungry, and let me do this, and let me make sure that your sexual appetite is filled, and let me make sure I do this, on top of saying I gotta push for money and push, and then also not asking for help because I thought it was weak and I thought it was emotional. And once you told me to receive, man, now I'm just like, I'm not rushing anything. Why am I rushing anything? I don't want to manipulate energy, from what I learned from Candace about manipulating energy, which we'll talk about in another episode. But yeah, so I wanted to just touch on like a lot of us being, or a lot of men being too masculine, and it causing issues with us as women.
What you just said, and it's big in hip hop culture, and I have no issues with looking nice, looking beautiful and all that, the jewelry and all of that, but there's a necessity to have gaudiness around you, right? To almost like overexert yourself and make sure people understand your presence is there. Because like true strength is usually humble. It ain't gotta say much.
Dang, that's deep.
It ain't gotta do much. And with that overexertion of the gaudiness comes a certain level of conceit, a certain level of not being capable of consideration, which will then, of course, spill into all the different relationships. So especially those brothers that end up with, you know, whatever type of woman, whatever level she may be at. The money may be nice in the beginning, the cars may be nice, the jewelry may be nice, but you see a lot of times these women that end up with these rappers, within 6 months, they out, they bored, they cheating, they going at it, you know what I'm saying?
Nah, absolutely. It don't even be what it really be.
And then with that level of conceit and the gaudiness comes the need for the upkeep of that. So you got to go even double. Like you said, the skill set comes from what you wasn't receiving because you wasn't balanced. that turned into a talent, right? That turned into a character. That turned into the necessity to keep this character going. That turns into the conceit. That turns into the gaudiness. That turns into I got to do even more and bust my ass even more to make it look good all the time. And then that turns into the team no sleep. That turns into the hustle holic.
Skipping meals. That's exactly skipping eating anywhere.
Facts. That turns into the
absolutely
need for more sex because now you're depending on women as a battery
yep.
to make up for the energy that you're losing.
That's exactly the point.
Really your ego at the end of the day.
Yes, exactly.
I remember when we I went to a party, one of the one of the famous rapper for his manager's birthday party.
Say his name.
So I'm like, yo, we in there, you know what I'm saying? And I'm chilling. I don't drink or what have you. So, you know, he pouring up for everybody at, you know, that was in the section, VIP section. And he got to me like, bro, what you want? And I said, cranberry juice. So he did a little double take, like, you sure?
Right.
I'm like, yeah, just cranberry juice. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
To this day, this is the best cranberry juice I've ever tasted. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I feel as though, like, God was just trying to have me to just remain focused on what my mission was for the night.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, everybody dancing, you know what I'm saying, chilling, whatnot. I'm just cooling. You know what I'm saying? So, we get out the party and what have you. He like, yo. And now it's mad, you know, girls walking out with him and stuff like that. It's like entourage. He like, hands down, Rel was the flyest nigga in the party. And I'm just thinking, I'm like, I'm just chilling, you know, I'm just macking, you know what I'm saying? But to him, it's just like, yo, that's something different.
Right.
God uses the foolish things of the world to
No
confound the wise, you know what I'm saying? So just being within your humble self and not trying to overcompensate, you know what I'm saying? It allowed for the things to just come to you.
Absolutely.
Dang.
And also just thinking of like Lil Durk, I know Lil Durk, he was saying on $1 Million Worth of Game, how, you know, before he got with his lady, I think her name is India, you know, he'd just have like the house and it'd just be like all his homies in there, there's no furniture and stuff like that. Then she came, you know, about and like, whoa, the furniture at? So, you know, now he like, yo, I gotta hit my accountant up, like, yo, we need to get some furniture up in here, you know what I'm saying? Because the ladies, y'all bring the essence to us that is just impeccable. You know what I'm saying? So I just want to shout the women out, you know, because y'all are amazing. You know, y'all help to bring that balance to us.
Same with y'all.
Yeah.
Same with y'all. Same with y'all.
And with the Shiva Shakti, the Shiva being the nothingness, that's the canvas. And you just talked about the women, the feminine energy brings that color. They the painting over the canvas.
Yeah.
So if the man isn't tuned into his ability to receive the colors, to receive, and not just the colors from the woman, but from the colors of life. I just posted the other day. I went to the spa. They've been open, but you know they was doing the mandatory vaccinations and all of that stuff for a minute. So I've been calling like every 4 or 5 months because I used to be in there a few times a month, and they finally loosened up on everything. So I was back in there for like 4 hours doing my sauna, doing my massage, and all of that. We think stuff like that is soft. We think stuff like that is corny, but that's the color, that's the spice of life. We can't be great at holding our stability of remaining a canvas without being receptive to the colors.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Also, too, lastly, if y'all got anything else to share, but what I learned, too, is I think I was watching a Styles P video live, and he was, not even think I was, and he was basically talking about, like, I guess what he was saying basically about how he is now, and like, don't talk about no street stuff in my place of business. Like, you know what I'm saying? Don't talk about street stuff in my place of business. And a lot of the times he's breaking down about how some cats y'all never actually needed to be in the streets anyway. Like a lot of y'all have been, have natural warriors, right? But then you have natural men that should be reading, studying, building, architects, scientists, and things like that. And you can see it as a kid by identifying what that child is playing with, because a lot of our parents are imbalanced and they only focusing on masculine energy, right? Of I gotta provide, I'm in survival mode, and or even though they're operating in feminine energy as well, but they're not intentionally acting in it. When we grow up, from what I seen men do, especially as kids, you be a whole nother person. Like, you was never tough, you was never into fights, you was never doing that natural gritty stuff as a kid, and now you're forcing yourself to be this whole nother person. And is it true that some of us have like more energy, like for me, I felt like I've had way more masculine energy growing up, just because that's just how my card was played. And now I'm like, ooh, I want to kind of be more of a receiver. Like, I want to be more into laid back energy. I'm not rushing to make a certain amount of money. I'm just doing what I'm supposed to do, but not attaching anything to the end goal besides me serving God in the proper way and me doing what I'm supposed to do at that minute and that time. And that's my only concern, using time properly and doing what I'm supposed to be doing with my time that God told me to do. So I say that to say, when it comes to our men being killed and our men being locked up, right? The imbalance of just that feminine energy and us overly being masculine, is there a way that like we can particularly just kind of like stop and think like, yo, before I make a decision, is this the right decision? And which one is the masculine decision or which one is the feminine? Like, what is the perfect time or what is a good reasoning to be more masculine and to be more feminine? Like, what are some of the actual natures? Because we're thinking like masculine needs to be tough, right? I need to be hood. I need to be hard. I need to be, like you said in your video, in one of the video recordings I had at one of your events, you said, yo, I didn't feel like a man because I didn't have a rap sheet.
Yeah.
I didn't feel masculine because I didn't have a rap sheet of drama.
Right.
Of killing, of robbing, of stealing, you know what I mean? So what should we be using masculine energy for, and what should we be using feminine energy for? And that's pretty much the last question I particularly had.
Both for everything.
Okay. Wow.
Because being that they are 50-50, the yin and yang, they have a role in every single second of our life. So we think even in that question, they got to be one or the other.
Yes. Thank you for that.
It has to be both being able to flex, function, express what they need to express to each other, the opposite of the 5-second rule. And that helps to develop your intuition, of course, but there still has to be an investigation when your intuition hasn't ripened yet.
An investigation.
So the 2-minute rule is the 2-minute rule, is the investigation process to allow the energies to express what they got to express to each other. And that means when you at that stalemate, you don't kind of know which way you want to go, even down to trying to break a habit. And the sensation of the desire comes back into your body for the burger, for the food, whatever it is, right? To smoke. Give yourself 2 minutes to sit with the sensation itself. Before you stack it into, I'm about to go get this ounce or whatever it is, right? Just give yourself 2 minutes to not calculate, not compute, not plan, just sit with the sensation itself. By the time that 2 minutes has elapsed, the sensation itself has had an opportunity to ripen, to blossom, to open up.
Some gems right there, y'all.
So the feminine energy is the sensation itself,
Life-saving
carrying the
gems.
package of the formula, if you will, that masculine energy, right? The 1 + 1 = 2. That's able to open up once the package of sensation has blossomed. And at the end of that 2 minutes, you'll have a very good idea of what your spirit is asking you to do in this moment from both sides of yourself.
Wow.
Yeah.
So my last question, because we know hip hop is still young, but we want to, be able to transform the minds of our next generations and the generations to come. How do we, especially as parents, new parents parents, or soon to be parents, how do we channel that energy into bringing, balanced children into our world and supporting those children that are already here to go from imbalance to balance?
Few things. First of which, just like with the artificial acceptance.
That was deep right there.
I think we do that as a community with hip hop as a whole. Like I think we talked about it a little bit last time, but just seeing fathers and mothers driving around blasting these messages because it's cool, because it's fresh new hip hop or whatever it is. Like, we got to be able to take a stand. If what's my man, Charleston White? Is that his name?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, he's super pop. What is it? Charleston White. Super popular on social media now. He say what he want to say. Little dude.
Oh, the country dude.
Country dude.
Yeah. Okay.
You know,
He be wildin'.
I think one of the things that came up,
Definitely
he
speak his
ended
mind.
up at 600. I only know these things because I see these people's names on the rails. I don't listen to none of this, but I think some dude named 600 Breezy. He was cool with King Von. And Charleston White was saying how he was happy that King Von got murdered because it was kind of like the karma of what hip hop is doing. 600 Breezy is his man, so they ended up in the same location and he pressed him. He had like his drivers come pick him up from the airport, take him to his house. And the whole story was like he kind of checked him. But then the footage came out, and Charleston White was like, he wasn't getting checked at all. He a little dude in this room full of gangsters, right? And they pressing him about his statements about King Von. And he was like, look, I don't care if you black, white, whatever. If you against my people, I'm against you, flat out. So I just don't get how we could be so distraught when, you know, the little homies in the hood is getting mowed down and the girls is getting raped and all this over-sexualization, but you blasting these messages with your kids in the car and not saying, you know what, anytime I hear this, I'm turning it off, right? I'm not going to give any energy to that until we get to that point to be able to do that as a whole. We could do all this spiritual stuff till we blow in the face, but then our kids are still gonna run out to these parties, still gonna go to school, still gonna get around their homies. And
make these TikToks to these songs.
So all that stuff gets washed right out. So I think that's one of the main things. And then the second thing is just prioritizing moments of inactivity. Like my son, the only time he really get on YouTube is like educational stuff. And then, you know, reward system, he can watch some fun stuff after that. But outside of that, it's always gonna be a few moments throughout the course of the day where we don't turn nothing on, don't play with no toys, just sit there with yourself. You don't gotta meditate with it, you don't gotta talk to daddy, just sit there with yourself in activity. Until we get comfortable with those spaces,
that's deep.
You're not gonna be comfortable in meditation when inactivity is being requested of the mind. You're not gonna be comfortable in those spaces like what me and you just talked about, and inactivity of not hustling to get to the next bag, to realize not doing something opens up your abundance just as much as doing something.
Wow, that's deep.
We gotta be able to prioritize and normalize inactivity with our children.
And there's a song I have that I'll be releasing soon. It's called 550. You know, so when the song come on, you know, because I was sitting with it just like it's trying to get better with just work with the intros of the song. But it's like it's an alarm clock. You know what I'm saying? So it start off, it's insane to watch. God turned it up a notch. All these bodies that just dropped, it'll make your stomach rot. We tried to warn you, but you told us to stop. All this partying going on just to reach the top. When it's people out here with a heart and children that watch, they every move, put their feet in every pair of shoes to inspire you feel uncomfortable. Yeah, you know you gotta play by their rules, but I listen to God and I do what the twigs do. Don't play my mental. I spend mad time with God. That's why I'm vocal. In the house before quarantine, stacked on the knowledge now. Let's watch this whole move. I don't got time for the waiting. When parents and children ain't playing, we tweaking cause we not receiving payments. I ain't got a job, yeah. What would you do if you was in my shoes? What would you do if you was in my shoes? You know what I'm saying? Because we've been talking about this stuff that's taking place now. You know what I'm saying? Starting off in the car, having like chats, we'll be in the car for mad long, just talking about all the stuff just now. So it's like we've been trying to tell y'all all this stuff that took place, pandemic. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, y'all told us to stop. You know what I'm saying? Y'all thought we was too conscious or whatever the case is. Get out of here with all that. You know, we paying attention to the intuition that God is telling us, move, stop with these jobs, quit. You know what I'm saying? Back then, family members telling us we crazy and all that extra other stuff. And now everything that's going on right now, now people is like, yo, you know what I'm saying? What's up? You know, and it's like, yo. And then people dying left and right, man. We don't tell y'all. We tried to warn y'all. Y'all trying to stop.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just, that's the alarm clock right there because the sound of the trumpets, you know what I'm saying? And Trump got out of office. Trumpet, blowing in the horns. God blowing out. Yo, it's the wake-up call. I need you to wake up. I need y'all to get right because it's the elevation now. You know what I'm saying? So, hey, man, we ain't got time for the waiting. Parents and children ain't playing.
Dang. That's deep. That's a perfect way to end it off, man. Like, make sure y'all follow Dox Diggler. Make sure y'all subscribe, y'all like. Make sure if y'all looking for one-on-one counseling, if you're looking for relationship counseling, man, I always make sure I tap into him at least monthly or every other month because it helps me so much with balancing myself and me tapping into the things that I need to do and helping me tap myself into that person. So make sure y'all get with this man and also make sure y'all check his music out because it's not only fire, and it's not only just the lessons, it's just on another level. And you want to be on another level because that's what we're here for. We're here to reach infinite levels. So tap into his music, man.
And this is not false advertising.
Nah.
We not just saying that he
Nah.
up here and we want y'all to do the stuff. Nah. We sat with him, you know, we had Peace in the Park. We've been through his counseling sessions. And
Nah,
what have you.
absolutely.
We are able to
Relationship
benefit
counseling
from
too,
this
yeah.
as well. So we got to continue.
Nah,
if we
yeah.
really want to support our community, we can't just fake support. You know what I'm saying? We got to really, you know,
Absolutely.
spend bread with our family.
Absolutely.
Nah, absolutely.
Because it's only going to continue to keep on helping us out. So
Absolutely.
this is our man right here.
Absolutely, yeah. It's supporting the community, it's supporting yourself, man.
Absolutely.
You can't only be the only person that you think your thoughts with. You have to share them. And some of y'all don't have people that know how to separate what they're supposed to tell you than what the permission they have to tell you. There's supposed to be permission for somebody to give you advice. So tap into my guy, for real, for real.
I'm out here. I'm out here.
All right. Health and Hip Hop Show, baby. Mastering that masculine and that feminine energy, man. We both should be mastering both, y'all, as women and men. Let's get our communities healthy. Let's get balanced, y'all.
Love.
Yeah.